Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Three Pointer Podcast. I'm Brent Clemmer, your host, and with me, as always, is Brennan Beck and Justin Bridges. Unfortunately, today, Luke Erickson will not be joining us. He may shortly. We're not sure yet. He got into some pretty bad traffic on the way home. Brennan, what's going on today, bud?
Oh, not too much. Just wrapping up the end of the work week, bud. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. Not too bad. Bridgie, what are you saying, buddy?
I'm just slowly recovering from last night. Just
I feel you,
trying to fix my my body.
Fair enough. It was a hard workout, man.
Yeah, I know. A lot of beers were drank.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Hard workout on the gut.
Strenuous workout. Just got to get in game shape.
Clearly, Brent is trying to hide it for the sake of
It was just a joke.
You want to call it credibility, but yeah,
it was just a joke.
I think three.
I'm drinking a tea right now. I'm just joking. I don't care.
Three teenagers. One guy says hard night, just trying to recover. I think people are smart enough to know what's going on.
No, absolutely. And I was just joking by saying it was a workout. I don't actually care if anyone knows that I have a drinking problem.
Well, there it is.
So in saying that, we got not a whole lot of content today. I mean, not a whole lot going on around the league other than, of course, the finals. Still going to be a pretty good episode. We have our takes for the first couple games and what we think is going to transpire in the next couple. I believe there's only two games before our next. Was it one or two? One game before our next episode.
Yeah.
So the first game in Milwaukee will be covered Monday, but we'll give you our predictions for that one today. And so on and so forth. Probably by the end of next week, I imagine the finals will be totally over. Unless maybe Game 7 might be on Saturday.
So the second game, it goes Wednesday. So it's weird. There's two games in between that one. And then with the switch back, it should be two games. It should be one day in between. So it'll be, depending on how it goes and what, obviously what we think, but what happens, it could lead into next week, but maybe by next
week, as in Monday or this weekend?
Next week, as in past next weekend, it could go.
Oh, okay. So next Monday, Tuesday kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I have no idea. And obviously this series does have the ability to go 7, even though the Bucks are down 0-2 right now.
Yeah.
But not a big deal losing those 2 away games, I don't think. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It comes down to a lot of the experience and the feel-out factor. These teams haven't played in the finals ever. Or, sorry, no players on the teams have played in the finals ever. The Bucks have played in the finals, so have the Suns. But there's only one player with finals experience on both rosters combined. So I don't think the first 2 games really mean a whole lot. It's more of a feel-out process, and the Suns had the advantage of being at home with all those fans. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried if I'm the Bucks yet. Of course you're worried.
But
they came back against the Nets, though.
Yeah, absolutely, but you're playing a must-win game. You're playing must-win games at home.
Yeah, totally, and I get that, but I'd rather play those games at home than on the road.
I'd want to have the home court advantage for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I mean, the Bucks have been absolutely atrocious from 3.
Horrible.
So
absolutely horrible.
Yeah, we'll get into that more a little bit, I think, unless you want to get into it right now. But
I mean, I was going to give our predictions after, but go for it if you want. If you
no. We can get right into that. Just very quickly talking about Game 1. Chris Paul became the first player with 30 points, 8 assists in a finals debut since MJ in 91. Also passed LeBron as the oldest player in finals history with 32 and 9 assists in a finals game. It's weird right now in the offseason. We hear we're not in the actual offseason yet with player movement, aside from the Kemba trade, of course. But ESPN has removed Rachel Nichols from the NBA Finals sideline from their NBA sideline coverage. Finals sideline coverage after a recording surfaced criticizing ESPN for choosing Mariah Taylor, a reporter of color, over her to report on the sidelines of last year's NBA Finals. Obviously a really hot topic, but not something that ESPN obviously wants to be dealing with.
Oh, hey, Jess, what's
Yeah,
going
for
on,
sure.
buddy?
What's going on, bud?
Yeah. Yeah. So not a great look there. Obviously, I think they're just trying to see it through the finals, of course.
Totally.
Yeah. After what many people called a miserable season for the Toronto Raptors, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver acknowledged there was an additional burden placed on the Raptors more than any other team by having to relocate
Good.
this season. Yeah.
Absolutely. I like to be
Yeah.
honest. I think this season's a wash in general, especially for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
He's,
tough.
Well,
Yeah.
these
you
guys
know
were living
what?
in hotels, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they were
brutal.
literally staying in a Marriott, like they were in a hotel
So-
room, right, all season,
Yeah, what do you
right? No, exactly, and it's total. If you have family too, like they're probably moving down there or not. I don't know.
Or yeah, some of these guys may have been away from their family
Yeah,
for months at a time.
exactly.
Exactly, but they have the number 4 pick now. That's kind of nice. But the NBA and the Raptors are hopeful of a return to Toronto for next season. I can't really talk about like COVID and what that looks like in Canada, but obviously they're optimistic with what we've
It
seen
looks
in the
as though
United States.
it looks as of right now that we will
Yeah.
be back in Toronto.
To an
Hoping so.
extent, right?
Hoping
Like
so.
fans
Yeah.
in the building's another thing, but to an extent.
And how many fans? Like that's totally.
Yeah.
But like by when's the season start? October?
Actually, it'll probably start like late October, early November.
Yeah. So I mean, by then anything can happen. Likely the vaccinations will be out across Canada.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
And
Yeah.
like
just hope for the best at
coming
this
off-
point.
Yeah, I think but we even saw how do I put this? We saw like Montreal in the Stanley Cup final only have so many fans, so obviously it's going to be cautious. But
yeah, but we're not quite there
uh,
yet, right?
no,
By vaccination numbers.
Yeah, no, we're not quite there. I'm not too sure, but I think we'll obviously have to experience. Go at it with caution. Sorry, and you'll get
Yeah.
me for a stutter right there because I was a little bit flustered there. But
That's all right, buddy. I don't actually count your stutters. I'm joking.
we'll have to go. They'll have to go at it with caution, obviously. Commissioner Adam Silver said he expects the play-in tournament to remain in the coming years. None of the 9th or 10th teams played their way into a first-round series. I know you guys. I know we spoke a lot about it when it was coming out, and how we were not really big fans of it. Have you guys had any kind of change of heart or anything like that?
So when it comes to that, I don't have a change of heart about how I feel about it. But like we said
Okay.
from the start, we all said from the start that it was going to be good for money for the NBA because there's
Yeah,
more competitive
absolutely.
basketball.
Yeah, of course it would be.
And there's no debate that that's what that's going to do. And there's no way it's going to go away. I don't think. Like, I'm not surprised.
I think there's no debate that it's going to stay for that reason. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that either.
No. And I think we saw like a lot of people spoke badly about it. And I think the players still really aren't fans of it because why play 82 games if you're just going to have that?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there's a trade-off there and they say, okay, well, if we play 72 games and we do that, are you guys okay with that? But
Yeah,
that's
take some
something
workload
that,
off.
yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off, right? And it gives them more time to kind of get prepared for
Well,
that
this year was a
postseason.
72 game season too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we saw that. And I think obviously we saw like a bunch of injuries, but I think that was just the grind of the entire season more than anything.
And the off season being shorter.
Yeah,
Of course. But I think I don't know. I think it's going back to 82 games. Actually, it is going back to 82 games next year.
Yeah, it is. It is 100%.
But maybe, I don't know. Maybe when the next collective bargaining agreement comes out, which I think was at least a couple years down the line, maybe we see that go to 72 games. But it's totally, like you said, Brent, a matter of money.
as the years
exactly
go
what
on,
it is.
I'm sure they'll cater it a little more better to the players.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like if they're not going to treat it as it is, and they're not going to play, obviously they're going to play hard, like they want to get in, but
Well, maybe
If-
it's a matter of the play-in teams. If there's like, because typically by the last 2 games of the season, everybody's in place. There can be a
Yeah.
little movement, but that's what that play-in tournament is. So maybe there's something where the play-in teams start the play-in before the playoffs, as in like a week. And then
I think, well, you know what? You know what the other thing is too is it's I'd say it's pretty rare, like in an 82 game season, where you're gonna have teams like you're gonna obviously have teams fighting for those 9th and 10th seeds, but chances are it'll be fairly locked in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Before the end of the season, right? So I don't think you can do anything about that, but I think they have kind of figured it out. Whereas like teams are resting players.
Yeah.
exactly. So the
Well,
end of the
most
season
men
doesn't
are-
really matter. Like,
No, and I think I think we've seen that where teams start to lighten the load on some of their key players in terms of load management and resting them because they know
Totally.
they're pretty well situated.
Yeah.
So I think we may see just some more of that as a counteract.
Yeah. Maybe.
for the
Yeah.
play-in teams, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly, because that's a 1 game play-in, right? Like that's your season right there.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
Yeah,
It throws it on
because
the-
if you're in
throws
that,
it on the line in one game.
if you're already in that 11-12 matchup and you're in the 11 seed, you might as well rest the players. If you fall to the 12, it's not a big deal,
No. Exactly.
like at all.
No,
You're playing the same
No.
team.
Yeah.
absolutely. The 12-man USA Olympic basketball team was released. I believe it was a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of that, obviously we know there's guys who will commit, not commit, like say they're not going, injuries, contracts, that. But there were some interesting selections nonetheless. 2 of those that I found really interesting were Jeremy Grant and Kevin Love.
Really.
Jeremy Grant is one thing because James Harden pulled out obviously after and quick little thing on James Harden was
Oh.
This
Wow.
definitely should have been said
Yeah.
in the news.
Wow.
yeah James Harden had a little altercation I guess with police in France, I guess.
My boy, little baby.
Yeah. Don't really know the full optics of that or like the full scope. But
From what I heard, it was basically, I believe they were in a car, right? And
Okay.
I believe Lil Baby and Harden, they were in the same car. We're not going to say whose it was. We don't know.
Okay.
There was a substantial amount of marijuana in that vehicle.
Oh no.
Enough to be
marijuana.
considered, enough to consider being like
Oh.
trafficking.
I see.
So, Lil Baby apparently has fessed up and taken most of the charge,
yeah.
so he could face up to 1 year in prison. But likely Harden will be probably either let go or get a fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously being that it's international, it's a little bit different. I don't really know how that works, but yeah, a bit of a not so good moment there for James Harden.
Yeah. A little bit of an altercation.
I forget what country it was, but depending on the country,
France.
Oh, it was,
France.
yeah, okay, it was
Yeah.
France, I thought so. So depending on how they feel about American basketball and all that, like,
Yeah. Who knows?
depends how hard they are on the guy, right? Like if they're fans of him, he may be home already. We just don't know.
Yeah.
But like there's limitless possibilities that come to that with diplomats and getting guys across the border that have been arrested. Likely what will happen, in my opinion, is the U.S. will probably, if they are put in prison by any means or put in jail, they'll likely just say like we'll sentence them here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Bring
way
him
they
back-
let
bring
James
him back
Harden
here.
and fucking Lil Baby go to prison for a year.
No.
It just can't happen.
No.
No.
Not to say that they're
Uh,
invincible and shouldn't be charged, but
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the USA Olympic basketball team. Jeremy Grant was sort of more or less handpicked by Damian Lillard and who's the other name I'm thinking of? Anyways, Damian Lillard and others really vouched for Jeremy Grant. Obviously had like a really decent year this year, like 22 points, 5 rebounds, like 4 assists, something like that. Played great defense. So obviously a bit of a personal connection there. Kevin Love is the one that really bothers me.
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear that actually. And I mean, I get it. The guy's an absolute veteran in the league, but
But you're
he's
picking
not.
the 12 best, like you're picking the 12 best.
No,
available
totally. I
players.
totally understand that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, in
That's
crunch
not-
time, he's there to be a leader. He's not there to play.
Fair enough. But when you said Kevin Love, man, I was like, really?
You want to
Like,
hear some of the names they left off the list, like
Yeah,
for Kevin Love? And obviously, some of these guys we don't know whether they just have decided not to go or informed that they wouldn't report or anything like that.
Okay.
But Julius Randle, Zion Williamson, Trae Young, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan, Tobias Harris, Westbrook, Kyrie, and Bi Brendan Ingram
Wow. So Kevin Love was their 12th option.
got picked over all of those guys. Now,
But, I
whether
mean,
that's
I don't think
Wow.
he was actually picked over those guys. He's going to be the number 12 on the team, right? Like,
yeah, but still, like you can still take like Kawhi Leonard would probably go there and end up being the best player that they had there. Obviously injured now. but,
totally. Yeah, I
Paul
totally
George,
agree.
like Paul George coming off on like a great, really good postseason, would be a great player for them. Like
Yeah.
Julius Randle, like Trae Young, like
the thing
Yeah,
about the
wow.
Olympic,
Kevin, damn,
BI?
I fucking love.
the thing about the Olympics for the U.S. is I don't think they really care because it's just an easy medal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
This
that's-
is
yeah,
basically a
exactly.
sport that, like,
Yeah.
I think it's the most lopsided sport in the
Oh, it
Olympics.
has to be.
There's no
maybe
way
a-
it's not.
It has to be. Aside from like, well, actually, no. Then yeah, it would have to. Be.
I think it
Yeah,
has to be the
I
most
think it
lopsided
is.
sport in history.
I
Like,
think
has
it is.
any other country won a single Olympics in basketball?
Oh yeah, that's why we had the '92 Dream Team. They lost.
Right.
in-
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I
they
was
lost
thinking
in
more in
88.
like the past 20 years, but
I don't know if they won in 2006 either. Like Spain might have won. I know,
Dude,
like
I don't
FIBA
know.
World Cup. Like, no, but yes, absolutely. Like, if the U.S. were to put out their best team every year, like,
that's
forget
what
it.
I'm
It'd be
saying.
unfair.
Is like I don't
It'd be
think they care
unfair.
because they know they're winning.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah, it'd be
try, they
unfair.
win.
Well,
No,
that's
literally.
exactly it. It's more or less at this point. It's like, okay, what 12 All Stars do we want to represent their country? They just call up all the All Stars basically. They're like, hey, do
Literally.
you want to come play for us and win a gold medal?
And then
like,
they just make
that's-
an absolute heater of a team.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
exactly
not exactly
it.
hard.
Yeah. Do you
These
guys
players
wanna
don't
go-
try, like, realistically.
Well, they try, but like they try for like what, maybe 12, 20 minutes, something.
Yeah,
Like that.
That's what I mean.
want
Like,
their
they're not
medal, and that's
playing-
about it.
They're not playing the way they play in the NBA postseason.
No,
No,
shot.
gosh, no. Do you guys want to get into? Do we want to talk about free agents, or do we want to talk about? What do you guys want to talk about first, or do we want? to
I think we should still talk about the
box.
Bucks. I think we should talk about the Bucks
wanna-
and stuff first.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Because
because I really want to
they're-
talk about the 3-point shooting.
Well, that's the most obvious thing. Like that's yeah, of course that has an effect, but there's a
That's
lot
got to be the
it.
worst stat they're holding, right?
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
it's not, then that's a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
22%, wasn't it?
I
Something
believe
like
so.
that.
Game 2 definitely was like 20%.
Yeah, game 1 was
sure.
22. So
Game 1 was 22. Correct. Really? Is that?
yeah,
Is that it? Eh?
yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so.
Like,
I think we've
How?
known that's been an issue for so long though. Like we know their how do I put this? That
Choking?
3-point shooting hasn't held up. Choking's definitely a
Their
way to put it.
3-point
no,
shooting is
that's
choking.
right. No, you're right about
No,
that. But
like
they are
the 3-point
choking.
shooting has not held up in this series. Game 1 obviously was a bit of a different story. It was much better, but they also shot way less 3-pointers. And then obviously last night stepping up into that, we obviously saw a more aggressive version of Drew Holiday.
Yeah, that was
Um,
ridiculous too. He needed
yeah.
to stop shooting at some point.
But
We
you
need
know
to
what
relax
though?
on
Like,
that.
but you know what? There was a lot of talk around him and him not being aggressive and him shying away after missing.
I
a few
know.
shots.
So
So,
But- He just
And
wasn't
came out,
hitting.
He started well. No,
Yeah, he did start well.
No, he did.
he started well, but then it did obviously really fall off after that.
One thing I've noticed about the Bucks shooting is it's not even just 3-pointers. I've seen them miss like fairly like, not that they're not like a little contested, but fairly easy buckets.
Like
Brook
layups
Lopez
and
should be
stuff.
scoring, and
Like,
Giannis should be scoring these.
and can we
buckets.
talk
They're not.
about rebounds, man? You need to get a
I'm sorry.
rebound at some point. Like, what is
So-
their rebound percentage?
I think it looked worse than it was, Justin, for the rebound
It
battle.
looked-
No,
it
their
looked
rebound
horrible.
their rebound percentage was much better, but no,
Yeah.
you're definitely right. There were a lot of more instances where there were tip balls. But I guess I'll talk about rebounds in a second. But I think, frankly, and I think you're right, like, obviously you give up 118 points, and that's not going to do it for you. But you can't 105, 108, 105. Like, the other thing is the volume in which they're shooting and the amount they're missing really gives Phoenix the opportunity to push the ball in transition. We know with like the young legs of Ayton and like even guys like Cam Johnson, Campaign, they love to do that.
And it worked against Atlanta because they were winning the rebound battle.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it.
But the rebound battle is so imperative, and they're just. I know they're probably winning the offensive rebound battle, but I think they're not really because they're getting. I'm sure they have more offensive rebounds, but that's because they're missing way more shots.
Yeah, because
Well, that's exactly it. I was gonna say, see, you can look at like the rebound numbers and say to yourself, well, look, Milwaukee seems to be getting like the same amount of rebounds as Phoenix, or more in that case. But yeah, they're also exactly like you said, they're missing more shots. They have more chances on the offensive boards in that case. So yeah, rebounds from game 46 to 43 Milwaukee. And obviously shooting 45% to Phoenix's 49%. And then obviously like Phoenix shot made 23s and shot 43s, 50% from downtown. Like,
which is good, obviously. But
no, like that's
not sustainable.
Hard. That's 60. It's not sustainable, but you can't go and shoot 29% for a team that shot 38% all season if you're Milwaukee.
Yeah.
It's just not working.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, if we want to point out players individually, like Chris Middleton, 5 of 16, Drew Holiday, 7 of 21, both of them like under 35%. Look, like they're getting looks, and I know we talked about it, but I've noticed it more and more often with Chris Middleton for especially is when it comes to offensively, Chris Middleton when he's not set as a shooter, I have like no confidence in the guy. His body is with that. And I'm not trying to slight it, but his body is all over the place. If he's
he has this one really nice. It's not even really like a really nice move by any means, but he runs. He pushes the ball up the court. He does a through the legs crossover, and then he pulls up, and that works. Yeah. The simple plays work for him, and that's what he needs to stick to. I mean, he does hit the odd cool fadeaway jumper, but it's the simple stuff that's kind of worked for the Bucks all year, right?
Yeah,
but that's the thing, though. Even we've seen Middleton. Like, I think we see Middleton thousands of times in the regular season. Like crossover between the legs, step back, hit a 3 in transition. We're not seeing that. We see Middleton come off a screen and hit a leaner in the mid range, instead of like pull up for a floater instead of driving the rim. Like, his game's not based off athleticism. We see that a lot, and we see it work to him very successfully because we talk about his efficiency against Devin Booker's efficiency, and we say, well, look, Chris Middleton putting up similar numbers on better efficiency, and we just haven't seen that. We have not seen that.
And that's why our predictions look like fucking shit right now.
Oh yeah,
they look horrible,
absolutely goofy. Like, yeah, I think we talked about Brook Lopez, the X factor. I still think that's very, very true.
I do too.
Just think, I think he's getting played off the floor. And honestly,
he is.
I think the X factor at this point is the X factor is Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton.
They are now the X factor because they're not.
Do they show up? Like, you know what I mean? Are they going to hit shots?
Giannis is showing up.
Giannis is showing up. He needs to have 2 other players who are going to play with him.
Yeah,
and not turn
It's
over the ball as much as they are.
it's kind of like I saw a stat line today, and it was like Russ had, like in one of the Thunder's playoff games, Russ had like 46, PG had 5, and Melo had 7. And it's
Yeah,
like, imagine the dressing room after that game. Like,
totally.
imagine where Giannis goes to. Like, obviously as a team leader, he's gonna back them up and say, look, like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. They're gonna break out, but you shoot your best player shoots 68% on a guy that strictly shoots twos, essentially, or strictly makes twos, and is absolutely dominant in the paint against just about any matchup we've seen.
Any player.
Yeah, and we saw probably like the best stretch of offense we've seen from Giannis in the third quarter, where this guy was attacking angles and like using all
Didn't he
kinds
score the most third quarter points ever in a playoff game?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know. Did he?
Most points in a quarter.
It was 20s.
It was 20, and
because they had Jordan and LeBron behind him.
That's
with
right.
20,
That's right.
26 and 27. And he had 28.
That's ridiculous.
So
like this,
that's a crazy quarter, obviously.
Yeah.
No, obviously a crazy quarter, but if you look at, I don't know if I can find the quarter by quarter scoring, but if you look, I don't even know what that would be like. I can't.
It would be Giannis, the Suns. Giannis, the Suns. And the Suns still outscored them that quarter.
They did.
What the fuck?
How?
Yeah. No. Quarter 3, Milwaukee put up 33 and Phoenix put up 32. But when you put that beside the fact that the rest of his team had 5 points.
Yeah.
5 points.
Giannis is that team.
No, absolutely. We say as much as we can, like that team goes as far as Giannis takes them. And as true as that is, he can only take You know
what that team kind of reminds me of if Giannis wasn't there?
What's that?
The Wizards.
Okay, explain.
Yeah, which sense?
Just the not so much the way the players play, but the genetics of the team. They have. I know Russ is better than fucking Drew, and Beal is better than Holiday, or not. Oh, sorry, than Middleton.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just watching the two teams. If you took Giannis off that team, I think they'd be very similar teams, both in record and in play style.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah. I think for me,
or the Raptors.
Yeah. I think the Raptors is a very good one. Without Kawhi, obviously. I think Kawhi and Giannis's games have similar impacts on their teams.
I think they're very, very similar.
Yeah. And I think the Raptors are very much a team where everyone is kind of above where they should be in a pecking order of a championship team.
They need a centerpiece.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's exactly it. And Giannis is that centerpiece, but what makes no sense to me is how this team goes out. Obviously Atlanta and Phoenix, it's a gulf in class. But how a team like Milwaukee can go out and perform the way they did in those last 2 games against Atlanta, albeit without their best player. And then when the expectation
he comes back
is off, right? Is often he comes back fully healthy, attracting the kind of attention he does, and you can't get it done.
But do you think it's a factor of our best players back? We should just relax now, or do you think it's our best players back?
I think so, because
can't, you know what I mean?
It's like anything, right? If you do get a little bit more relaxed when Giannis is on the court, because that's your guy. That's your guy. That's the guy that gives
But why do you slow down? Why would you
Middleton
do that?
in that third quarter? That was conference finals, not finals. He had what? How many points did Middleton have in that third quarter of Game 6? He turned into prime MJ.
He had a lot though.
26, I believe.
26.
He looked incredible. It was insane. And he needs to do that. And I've been waiting for it, watching these games, waiting for him to step up and do that. And he just hasn't.
No, he's just not doing it. For some reason, I don't know why, he's not doing it. And I wasn't sure if it was because Giannis was back or if it was because there was too much pressure on him.
The finals.
Not enough pressure on him.
I mean, in fairness, it is the finals.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's why you should be performing.
No, totally. But it is their first finals appearance. And like as players,
Yeah.
I get where the
I get
pressure
that.
comes in. And some players aren't built for that, which it's just the way it is. Some players
No, yeah,
are
I
great
get
playoff
that.
performers, but when it comes to the playoff or the finals, they just can't do anything.
Yeah, no.
And just can't get over that hump. And I don't think that's what Milwaukee is. I just think they're just not playing well.
I think, yeah, it's a very simple formula, and it's the fact that Phoenix hit like in game 2, obviously it's a very simple formula, and the fact that Phoenix outscored Milwaukee from 3, 60-27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the game. That's the game's difference.
That is totally the game's difference. And we saw, you know what? We saw in the first quarter where Milwaukee was more committed to their defensive assignments than ever and more committed to attacking the rim than ever. And I think we saw Milwaukee like up double digits for large parts of that first quarter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm reading something here that the Bucks scored on 14 of their 24 possessions in the first quarter, and the Suns only scored on 9 of their 24, and the Bucks lead by only 3, and that was after
Which
the
is
first
a
quarter.
problem.
That is a problem.
No, exactly, because look, as good
Especially with how Milwaukee plays.
Literally.
yes, exactly, and Milwaukee has adapted to a lot of their teams because a lot of the teams they've played haven't been able to stop them in the paint. So they've simply said, "Look, we can't make these shots. That's fine. We can play to our strength and attack the paint," which is totally fine. But look, eventually, more and more teams have realized, look, we wall off the paint to Giannis, we box out, and we try and let other people beat us. And it's the same strategy that's beaten a lot of good teams for years.
Yeah,
is
when your
let's
number
take-
one option's not clicking, somebody has to step up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, and it wasn't even so much that Giannis wasn't clicking, because Giannis was certainly
He was
clicking.
still
It's-
working.
he
It's
was
just
still putting up-
Yeah,
one man can't carry a championship team. We know.
and
this.
that's exactly it. It's the same as hockey. It's the same as any other sport, and that do all of the damage that you can to us, but we have five guys on the other end who are going to do more to hurt your team than one
more
guy.
net. More net.
Than one guy.
Yeah.
Than
Well,
one
and
singular
that's exactly
player,
it.
so.
Yeah, because you win by community, right? Like you win as a team, you lose as a team.
Giannis
That is
cannot
awesome.
win it. Giannis cannot win a championship by himself. As cool as that would be to watch.
Especially against the Suns. How they've been shooting from outside, from
Yeah.
3-point range. They're deadly.
And the
deadly.
problem is Milwaukee has Drew Holiday. Middleton's a good defender. Giannis is a good defender that can guard anyone. Like, how are
have
these guys
good
getting this many
defenders, man.
shots off?
Literally.
Aiton can't
And-
fucking shoot.
And
So-
it's just everything. They're throwing everything up from 3 and it goes in. They're not covering. They're not
No.
covering half the 3-pointers.
Because it's very simple, really, and it's that
Are you gonna say what I think you're gonna say about isolating fucking Brook Lopez against Devin Booker and CP3?
no, it's not that. It's that the Bucks create make it so much harder for themselves to defend because they don't get a chance to get set. This Phoenix team loves to run. And frankly, look, like they have better shooters. I've gained such an appreciation for the Phoenix Suns and simply how versatile they are on offense and how they're more than willing to adapt to any situation. Like for large parts of his career, Chris Paul was strictly a mid-range guy who would score in the mid-range with the floater, the
And
odd
a great
step back,
facilitator.
and a facilitator. And now we see the guy shoot over 40% from 3.
Yeah,
We
which
know
is
what
crazy.
Devin Booker is and his ability to shoot in all 3 levels.
And the pick and roll game.
Absolutely, both of them. Like,
Yeah,
two
the
of
pick and roll's
best
crazy.
players in the pick and roll in the league. We see Mikal Bridges. Like, can you really block that guy's shot? Because
Not
arms
really.
are like
It's like blocking
6.
KD.
Well, and that's exactly it, right? But we've seen so many instances, especially in these last 2 games, where these guys are, in Chris Paul and Devin Booker, are finding opportunities, excelling in them, and making life for their teammates very, very
totally
simple. And typically that works.
Yes, it does work. But typically what the Suns were actually doing was they were literally trying to isolate Brook Lopez, and it was working. Devin Booker against Brook Lopez is a bucket. It's a bucket.
So let's talk more about the pick and roll here, because it's very true from game 1. And quarter 1 of game 2 was simply the Bucks' best defense against the pick and roll. Why? Because the Bucks showed the willingness to chase around these screens and actually chase their man. The whole idea of the drop coverage in which Milwaukee deploys is simply an effort to allow their teammates time to scramble back on defense. And for large parts it works, because Brook Lopez has turned himself into one of the most feared shot blockers in the league, and people simply don't want to do that. But when you have guys,
he's good. He's an okay paint defender, but he can't defend. He can't defend anything other than 4 and 5. But that's the problem.
Before you get into that, it's very, very simple. If Devin Booker and Chris Paul don't want to shoot the mid-range shot, which they love doing, because we saw. Well, exactly. It's their favorite thing. How do I put this? Phoenix shot the most mid-range shots this year, and they made 47.4% of those, which is by far and away above
league average.
League average. It
On
also
more
plays.
shots.
Yeah, it also plays right into the weakness of the drop coverage, because Milwaukee also allowed 15.9 mid-range attempts per game.
Yeah, which is
in the season. So look, Phoenix is playing right into where Milwaukee can get hurt the most. We saw Trae Young do it, drop 48 points in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where 10 of his field goals were mid-range floaters and jumpers. And we saw 7. We saw 7 mid-rangers from CP3, and we saw 5 from Booker in game 1. And I would not be surprised if after quarter 1 of that game, of game 2, that those numbers were very similar.
I wouldn't be surprised either, because
I wouldn't either, to be honest.
No. And I think the one thing we saw Milwaukee do was an effort factor. And we saw, like, am I going to say Drew Holiday got tired and Chris Middleton got tired and that's why they played bad? Like, offensively? Maybe. But look, at the end of the day, you're a professional basketball player. And on the other end, Phoenix
it's not an excuse.
No, Phoenix is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely not an excuse. If anything, Milwaukee should be realistically in better shape, because Giannis takes most of the possessions.
Yeah.
Giannis should be dead. Like the amount that he plays and takes the ball, and the way that guy runs.
Have any energy, man.
Oh, he shouldn't even have a knee. He shouldn't have a knee.
Literally. How is that guy still walking?
I don't know, man.
Someone called it, like, I saw like the title of an article, and it said Milwaukee is wasting Giannis's Wolverine-like recovery, and it's so true.
That is so true, man.
How did he just and he's dropping like 40 points?
Yeah, and he's still going sicko, man. He's still doing everything.
He's still having incredible playoff games. You can't tell me this guy's knee's not sore.
No, I would.
His knee is more than sore. It is more than sore, man.
Unless this guy's just a robot, which is very possible.
I mean, he is like the most gangly, strong-looking human being out there. So
he's a scary dude.
Oh,
Giannis maybe the last person on this world I'd want to get in a fist fight, and that's just for the reach and strength. That guy's massive.
I think the last person I want to get in a fight with, like, would be Jokic, because his brothers are just absolute psychopaths.
Oh yeah, his brothers would probably kill you, but I'm just saying, one-on-one fight, Giannis, fuck that.
Yeah, because even if you went to try and run away from the guy, he just 7-foot arms.
Could you imagine Giannis with Boogie Cousins' fucking mentality?
No, that guy would
That
be,
would be
banned from the
scary.
league.
No.
He'd be
That guy
banned
would be
from the league.
gone.
Yeah, like this guy would probably have 10 games in suspension just because of the amount of technicals.
Literally.
This guy, the thing is, it wouldn't be technicals; it would be suspensions every game because Boogie would push someone. If Giannis actually pushes someone, that guy's dead.
Dude, he ran through like 4 guys last game.
Yeah, I
Literally
forget.
just
I think he ran
bulldozed
into
them.
Cam Johnson, and Cam Johnson just went flying.
Yeah,
And he's not that small of a guy. Like
no.
that's a big move. That's a big fella you're fucking throwing your body into, and you are just running through him, and he's just falling. That guy should be playing
Yeah.
rugby.
Oh my gosh.
He would be a very, very talented lock.
How do you, Coach Brent, Coach Justin, how do the Milwaukee Bucks figure it out from here?
Stop sucking. Shoot threes better.
Thanks, but if
Play
you're
better
if you're,
basketball.
They have to
Besides-
defend the pick and roll, and they have to play better perimeter defense.
so
Perimeter defense is key for the
how
Bucks.
how
man.
is
Key.
there any sort of specific thing that you would say would like adjustment that you would make that would help Milwaukee, like put them in a better position to say do those things in order to win, if you know what I mean?
Honestly, not really. I think 2 players in particular need to show up. I think they need to show up.
Yeah.
And I think they just need to play a little bit better defense. And I think that solves their problem every single game.
I think they.
That solves their problem.
I think the adjustment they need, and it's not a coaching adjustment, although the coach can help with this, is they need to get back to their game. They have to play like they did, and I hate to say it, like they did in the regular season.
100%.
Because-
100%.
But
And not
Is-
like
is
mentality
how
of the
they're
regular
playing-
season, but
no, I get that, but is how they're playing in because we know Milwaukee has largely failed to change their style of play throughout their time with Mike Budenholzer as head coach. Do you really think they've changed the game, or do you think they've just lacked execution?
no,
there's-
that's what I mean is that they've lacked execution. They maybe they have to forget that it's the finals
Yeah,
and they have to play basketball.
I think going
Shut up
home-
and dribble.
All right. Aside from the obviously not a political statement there,
No,
But-
I did not mean
No,
that
no.
in the movement way. I just meant shut
No,
up
no,
and
no.
dribble, as in it's not because they're black. I promise.
no, you just put your head like they, you know, you're right. They got to put their heads down to the grindstone. And I think
Yeah,
going
dude, this
home,
is-
I think going home
it's
to
finals.
a familiar setting is going to help them a lot.
I agree.
I think it
I
will.
totally
I think so too.
I think
I
if the
think
first
they'll
2
feel-
games were in Milwaukee, it would have been a totally different story.
I think it's
And I-
2-0 Milwaukee
yeah.
if that's the case.
I think the greatest thing that we can say about Milwaukee's struggles right now is they're not that they're self-imposed, but more or less like I think Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton have had ample opportunity to bust out of their shooting slumps. I don't think they're getting closely contested all the time.
No,
Like, I
they're
think a
getting
lot of
good
these
looks.
shots-
You're
I think,
right.
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of these looks are just good looks they're not putting in. And I think that's certainly a bet. Obviously, the position they're in now isn't great, but it's certainly I'd much rather trust, those guys to bust out of their slumps rather
Than
than have
change
to completely change your game plan, right?
Yeah.
And if
Um,
anyone's going to change their game plan, it will not be the Milwaukee Bucks.
No. The one thing I will mention, I think I did like that Milwaukee went to their bench less. I saw them like Mike Budenholzer is now falling in love with Jeff Teague again, a very past prime Jeff Teague, if that's the best way I can put it. I think Bobby Portis deserves more of a run. He got like 4.5 minutes last game. But I've kind of got a few different ideas here about the Bucks that I want to pitch to you guys, and we'll see what you guys think.
Favor.
The first one is very simple. Giannis at the 5.
Yes.
Absolute. I think they should
Also
be
like
doing
that.
it. I think, frankly, they should be doing it as often as they can. Because we've
Yeah.
seen Giannis physically bully every single player on that team.
Giannis has to be on Ayton.
No. And I think
Right.
the other thing too, it's defensively, there's less effort required because you're you're more likely to have success if you're switching everything. If you're
Yeah.
Milwaukee and you have Giannis at the 5. And that's still a very dangerous rim protector. Someone's very long, and it can obviously block the shot.
So are
The
you
other
saying
one-
move Lopez to the 4?
I'm saying get Lopez out of the goddamn game.
And
This
bring
guy,
Portis in?
no. Let's you know what? Let's bring Pat Connaughton in. That's what I would say.
At the
I'd slide
power
him-
forward?
No, obviously not at the power
I was
forward.
gonna say.
PJ Tucker would be at the power forward.
Yeah.
You'd have Middleton at small.
I like Connaughton, so
at
I don't
2.
hate that.
No.
I like Connaughton a lot, so.
The other thing too is in game 1, Pat Connaughton held Chris Paul and Devin Booker to 40% in his matchups against them.
He's working his ass off.
Yeah. And he's just an effort guy. He's another one of those PJ Tuckers who, if he hits a shot, great. But he's there to bring
But he's a better
energy.
shooter than PJ Tucker now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. No, certainly is. And look, Brook Lopez isn't exactly your hustle energy guy. He's not DeAndre Ayton on his feet. He's not like fast or nimble like that. And if he's not hitting his shots, like what is he doing in this series? You know what I mean? He's not.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
I've
you're
liked
right.
I've liked Brook from 3.
Yeah, but
So have I,
as good
but
as
he
he
has to
was
hit
in game
shots
1,
from
he was
3.
0-2.
He did.
He was 4 of 10 with 8 points in game 2. Like
But in
that
game 1,
doesn't-
didn't he have like 26 points or something?
Yeah, it was much better in game 1, but still, I think there needs to be a tighter leash for Brook Lopez, especially considering we know the lack of success he's had so far in this series.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't hate
Game
that.
1,
But I
he
do
was
like
awesome.
Brook Lopez.
Game
I do.
1, he was
No,
I like that
absolutely.
dude.
Game 1 he was, but if he's not producing like that, then there's no reason for him to be on the floor.
No,
Like, he's not
I
provi-
agree. I do agree.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think it's I think it's kind of hard to say, okay, we got to cut this guy's leash. Because I think shorter leash, yes, but I don't think he shouldn't start.
No, I think he should start. I think we saw it like the Clippers would start Ivica Zubac. But look, I think at the end of the day, they know Milwaukee's best 5 doesn't run through Brook Lopez, especially not in this series. That's all. I think the ability to go smaller. and
Yeah,
the
no,
fact that
I do
Giannis
agree.
is- Yeah. The other thing I would say, if Milwaukee wanted to play Brook Lopez, because I think they're in a situation where they have to. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're thin. They're razor thin. They need to extend the drop coverage. So when Lopez does drop, he typically drops somewhere near the restricted area or somewhere
Yeah.
in the mid part of the paint, and he needs to be standing more so closer to the free throw line in order to
Yeah,
prevent the mid-range. and
the
at
issue
least
I've had
stand them
with
up
Brook
a little bit.
Lopez, and the reason I like bringing Connaughton in is Brook Lopez has absolutely zero chance switching on to Booker or Paul. We
No,
saw
that's
it tremendously.
No, and that's exactly it. That is the biggest liability. And then we see after that, after he gets exposed, we see Ayton rolling to the rim and catching lobs because Lopez is so focused on slowing these guys down.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
at the end of
Yeah.
the day, Chris Paul and Devin Booker are going to shoot over him. They're not scared
Yeah.
of him. They're going to fade away
No,
on him.
they-
They're going to get their own
They're
on
not scared
Brook
of him.
Lopez. Brook Lopez has
No.
played them really, really well. He just doesn't have the tools as a player to guard a 1 or a 2 because they're perimeter players. They can
So-
shoot over him at 3. They can drive on him and pull up. Like there's nothing he can do. They're faster.
the one thing that Brook Lopez can do, and I think he'll have to live with it. You have to live with it because unfortunately they can't just sit him and say, "Look, this isn't working. We got to go somewhere else."
They don't have the
Like-
option.
No, and that's exactly it. But if they extend the drop coverage and they put him up near the free throw line, it's going to allow guys like Drew Holiday and especially later in the games, like more time to chase around these screens. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that's the hope, right?
And then
obviously
Giannis
we know,
guarding
like-
the paint.
Yeah, Giannis in the paint.
Well, yeah,
They're
but I'm
both going to
assuming
be
if
there.
I'm assuming if Brook Lopez is on the floor, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to throw Lopez in like as the 5 in the screen in the pick and roll.
I don't hate having Lopez as a 4.
But why though? Like why? Because he's still on the floor. That's the problem.
I've liked the way he's been shooting, to be honest with you. from 3.
But okay, he was 0 of 2 one game. He was 3 of 5 in game 1. That's great. Like, obviously he had 17 points in game 1. He hasn't justified, and he played even less minutes. He played less minutes in game 1 than he did in game 2, and he played substantially worse in game 2, I'd say.
No, I agree, and I'm not saying he should be. I'm saying if he can play like that, I think he needs a shorter leash, but if he's having a good start to the game, because Brook Lopez, he plays how he starts. He plays how he starts. So if after the first quarter it's not working, take him off the court. Sure, put Giannis at the 5.
Mm-hmm.
But Brook Lopez can get streaky shooting, and he can shoot well for a big man.
I think the reason he's their X factor is because he frankly, besides Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton's inefficiencies in the offensive end, he is overall their biggest liability.
Yeah, he has to not be a liability. Yeah. If he's not a liability,
he can't be. And if he's not shooting the ball well enough to justify staying in the court, then he needs to get off. And it doesn't matter whether it's 2 minutes into the game or in the last 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can you say that one more time?
Sorry, no, I was just saying.
My roommates are fucking yelling, dude.
No, I was just saying to how Brook Lopez, despite Chris and Drew's inefficiencies in offense, is simply their biggest liability, because if he's not producing on offense, his defense certainly doesn't justify keeping him on the floor.
No, you're right. And that's what I'm saying. If his offense is there, why would you take him off? His offense is there, right?
But that's the thing is if his offense is there, that's one thing. I'm sure you can trade off a little bit on having him keeping him on the floor, but if it's not there, he's got to go. It's plain and simple.
Exactly. I think that's what we were saying.
Yeah. And I think the last part for me was just stick to the game plan. Hopefully Lopez continues to crash the boards. And can be more of a factor in the offensive glass.
I agree, because he's not a factor on defense.
No, and that's where Lopez playing time is going to ride. If he can contribute on offense, hopefully that outweighs his defense, and you can justify keeping him on the floor. But right now he's being played off the floor, and that's simply it. Anything to add on game? I guess you want to talk about predictions for the rest of the series, and
just for the next game, because we'll talk about the rest of the series Monday when we're all here.
Right.
So nothing crazy. Yeah, game 3. I think Milwaukee wins it by 20.
I do too. They have to.
I think You know what? I think the home crowd, I don't know, because their backs are against the wall. Obviously, it's a must-win game. I think they're going to squeak it out. I think it's going to be within 5 points. I think Drew and Chris are going to struggle to an extent. Maybe not as bad as they did in game 2.
I think one of them will break out, one of them won't.
I'm honestly hoping it's just the start of an incline in their game, right?
Yeah.
They have.
We just haven't seen a game where they all played well at the same time. And that's what's holding it back. Because
that's the recipe to winning.
That's the recipe to winning on offense. That talent can easily outweigh any defensive inefficiencies. Easily.
And the thing is, they're not a bad defensive team.
No, absolutely
not in the slightest.
That's probably the best in terms of two-way talent. Well, no, in terms of two-way talent, that's probably the best big 3 in the league right there.
Totally. No question.
Guys that can do it on both ends. Not the best.
All 3 of them can do both.
Yeah, exactly. But we haven't seen them do both, and that's the issue. That's the issue right there.
I totally agree.
No, I think the familiarity, will be a bit of the change of scenery and going home. I think it'll push them to a win. I think it'll be a tight one, but I'm looking forward to it, because for me, it really feels like this finals hasn't gotten started.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I'm saying is I think that these first 2 games have kind of been a feeling out process, and the Suns just had the advantage of being at home, the comfort of it. So I think it's going to come down, in my opinion, quickly, I don't want to get into this too much. I think it's going to be a 3-game series.
Yeah.
I think after these 2 games, like I just think Milwaukee takes them both, and it comes down to a best of 3.
I think what I'm most excited to see, I want to see what Milwaukee's crowd comes up with for
Me too.
For some of these Phoenix
Yeah.
guys. Like I know I haven't heard so much about like any of the slander, but I know they're counting Giannis at the line. Phoenix is.
It was
I just-
awful.
Oh yeah,
And they're
every
counting
single time.
fast too. They're going
Every
1,
single
2,
time.
3, 4,
Yeah.
5.
No,
I
know.
I don't like that, to be honest. It's
I
funny,
think-
but like I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have a whole lot of respect for Phoenix right now, so I'm not going to talk too much about that.
As good as Phoenix's crowd has been, like, look, this is a Milwaukee fan base absolutely desperate.
Ready
title.
for this. They're ready for this.
Yeah, and
They've
I think
been waiting a minute for it.
like
a
it's
hot
gonna be,
minute.
it should be a barn burner. Like that should be.
They had 20,000 people in the Deer District.
Yeah,
Well, they were in Phoenix.
that's probably the scary thing is like they're gonna have that's more than they can fit in Pfizer. I imagine.
Exactly.
Like that place is going to be rocking.
Buddy,
Yeah,
that
there's
is a scary scene.
Eh? If
That's
only
a
they could like
scary
open
scene.
the roof. If only they could like open the roof on that place and just like let all.
Could you
the people,
imagine
like, from
tarps
the Deer
off?
District? No, literally just like the Deer District, like yelling through the building, and then like the 20,000 fans in Pfizer also yelling at the Phoenix Suns. Like, I think
That
Chris-
would be cool.
I think Chris Paul
I think
would
Chris
have
Paul
a
would
mental
run.
breakdown.
Yeah, I think he'd run crying.
Yeah. I think Chris Paul is going to be the target of a lot of hate in Milwaukee.
He's totally
And
gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Not
totally.
even so much.
You
for
can't
what he's
hate
done in
Buck.
this series. No,
No,
absolutely
you
not.
can't.
Booker hasn't
But
done
I think-
anything wrong. I
No.
want Book to get a ring. If
And
they win, that's
honestly,
my green line. Like
He's
my
been playing
silver
his
lining.
heart out too. He's been playing
Yeah.
his absolute
Book is
heart out.
awesome. I like Book. I don't think Chris Paul deserves a ring this year. I think he deserves a ring, just not this year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of people act different. Like this guy has earned. Chris Paul's earned.
He's
it, don't
earned
get me
a
wrong.
ring. It's just this season he hasn't. I don't think.
He, like his play has certainly justified a ring, but the way he's behaved around that play
Exactly.
and everything has been
Yeah,
has been a little bit different.
exactly.
Like he's the reason the Phoenix Suns are in this position.
Totally, I totally
From
agree
a full
with that.
from a full season perspective, like Chris Paul has elevated the game of just about everyone around him,
Absolutely.
and totally deserves to be in this position. Has he handled it well as a professional? No.
And
No,
yeah, I
definitely
don't want to
not.
get into the what ifs and like where would they be if this was a totally healthy NBA. But
Yeah,
that's just I don't that's what I'm saying is I'm not saying any ring is like not deserved. I think every ring is deserved. But at the end of the day, the way he's handling himself, he's been acting like an underdog when he
He
won.
just hasn't
I
been
get-
professional.
And I totally understand that he's been the underdog his whole career and he hasn't won a ring yet. And I get the emotion that comes behind that. But the truth of it is that you're the number 2 seed. You didn't have to play the number 1 seed in the conference finals. So you're the best team that you had to play against based on record.
based on record, the Clippers certainly deserve to be like in the conference finals.
No,
I
totally,
was
they
never
did.
sold in Utah.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that at the end of the day,
Mhm.
like if it's a healthy NBA, it's a totally different
Yeah.
year.
Take a step back and
And
look
we can
at
say
it.
that about a lot of
the whole
championships.
picture.
And I'm not trying to get into that. It's just the way that Chris Paul, I have a lot of respect for Chris Paul as a player. I don't have as much as I used to for him as a person this season. That'll change next offseason. I don't really give a fuck. But I just don't really want to see a guy that acts like that win a ring this year. I don't think it was cool the way he acted to the Clippers, like flashing up the crowd
No.
after the game was over. And then he talks like, and then he gets on the mic and he basically says like, I'll always have a special place. Like I'll always have a special place in my heart for this. I thought that was a total joke. And I didn't like that at all. Because to be honest, Chris Paul, you haven't won a ring.
Yep.
You're nothing yet. You're a great player. Top
First
probably
ballot,
20.
first ballot Hall of
First
Famer.
ball,
Like,
yeah, that's exactly. You haven't won a ring yet. And you're acting like you just won a ring against the Clippers in the conference final. It's like what Montreal did in hockey when they were flipping cop cars after they won one Stanley Cup final game when they were down 3-0.
You're really keeping the receipt on that one, eh? You're really keeping the receipt on
Buddy,
that.
he's been keeping receipts on everything. On absolutely everything.
I hate that shit. And I've seen Chris Paul act like it all playoffs. He's acting like he's the underdog. He's like shoving in the fans' faces that he just won.
You know what? You know what? I will give it to him because I called him washed. Everyone has called that guy washed. Like it's high time that like he.
Oh yeah, I called him.
It's high time that he gets just like yeah.
I get that he's proving that, but he's not. My point is that he's not the underdog right now.
No,
and he's acting like he is.
He's overcome a personal underdog mentality where everyone.
He's 36 years old. Devin Booker is acting more mature than him.
That is, yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So that's my point. You're a 36-year-old man acting like that. I get you're excited. Yeah. I don't really care. To each their own. But at the end of the day, I don't want to see a guy like that win a chip.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm gonna if they win the chip, I'm gonna hate to see what he does after that. Like
I'd be curious to see how boozed he gets at a frigging championship parade.
I just want to hear his post-game interview.
There's gonna be some tears shed. His kid's gonna be on his lap. Like...
I'm gonna laugh, to be honest. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna call it a bullshit ring. It's a ring. It's a ring on your finger. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This didn't prove anything. This didn't prove anything to me. Is all I'm going to say.
There's cases to be made about every ring, and you're totally
absolutely. Right. I totally agree. Totally I'm just saying. I'm just going to say that this ring to me doesn't prove shit around the league.
Yeah.
I agree that whoever wins it worked their butts off and they won a ring. Sure, they won a ring. I'm not going to discredit that. Do I care about this ring? Am I entertained by this playoffs? Not really. I think this is.
It's hard.
I've entered some parts of it. I have been. Game 7 against Philly. Yeah, that was cool. There's been cool moments in this playoffs. I don't like this finals. I have not liked watching it. Okay. I agree that they're the two teams that should be there based on this season, but I really, really don't care about this playoffs. To me, this doesn't change CP3's legacy is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, carrying on about the topic of CP3 and all that, one thing that we know we were going to talk about in this show and one thing about CP3 is free agents. And CP3 is going to be a free agent after the season, but there are many more guys that are going to be free agents as well. So I thought we would get into a little bit of talking about where these guys might end up. And then some contradictions as to what might the best fit be for some of these players. So I've got my list here. I will bring it up. You can see it on the screen there. And I guess we'll start with you can obviously see a lot of them right there, but I think we'll go player by player and we'll see if you guys have any disagreements here. But first one being Kawhi. We've got Kawhi I've got Kawhi to the Clippers. I think he stays. He's put too much into getting there.
This team, yeah.
Yep, and I don't think he's leaving. Like, he has pretty much assembled that team. That's his team. It's where he wants to be geographically. And it's the best team for him as a fit. Because that team is his team. It's built around him for him to succeed.
Yeah, and if they play like they did this postseason while he was not active and he can come in and play like he does, they're going to be a dangerous team.
Yep. And you know what? It's the same thing. That's the same thing right now that the Bucks need to do with Giannis. The Bucks need to play the way they did it. And I think that was a great point because that's the whole point we were making about the Bucks. The first guy I actually have changing places is DeMar DeRozan. And I think the Knicks have roughly 55 million to 60 million realistically in cap space. I think DeRozan's a flyer. I don't think he really is committed to, seeing out the last bit of his prime in a situation in San Antonio where they really should be rebuilding, but they're not.
Yep.
I think the Knicks make a lot of sense for him. I think the Knicks
Me
could
too.
use the offense and are good enough on defense to
100%
compensate for that. And I think he'd slide right in a small forward for them.
I think he'd do really, really well for the Knicks.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
But that's my prediction. I think his fit would be better in Dallas. I think as a second.
I also don't mind that either.
I think as a secondary scorer to Luka, and a guy whose responsibility is strictly to score the ball and not have to worry about facilitating like he has in San Antonio, and especially with some of the bigs they've got that can space the floor, I think that'd be something to see.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
I like that too.
I think in terms of his role and how he would fit in the team, I think that would be way better. I think he goes to the Knicks because I think the Knicks offer the most money to him.
I think so too. I totally agree with that. I think he'll fit well for the Knicks too. Not that it's the best fit for him, but I think it's like not a bad fit.
No.
They're a playoff team. With him, they're probably a top 5 seed.
I think honestly, with both of those teams, I could see him going to either of those places. I think both of those teams are ideal situations for him. I think it's just going to come down to the money and the differences, because I don't think a lot of people see DeRozan as a max player right now.
He's not a max guy anymore, and he has gotten paid in his career. I think he could get paid again. He deserves it. And whether it'll come down to if he's chasing money or a ring.
Yeah. And you got to think and I don't know, like teams with, I don't know what teams with like reasonable amounts of cap space can sign a guy like DeRozan, but sign a guy like DeRozan and then say, oh, hey, we're a contender. Like, we're legit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And that's why I think he's chasing money right now. And maybe down the line when he's a little bit cheaper, he might be chasing Vetmans. And then that'll be when he's looking for a ring. And he'll sign with one of the big 5 teams at the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And be a decent spot up shooter, mid-range, decent guy, kind of like Melo.
Like Carmelo. Just probably without the 3, let's be honest. To
be honest, Unless he could develop a jumper, though, once he's like out of his prime.
Yeah, he could. It's just his jumper relies a lot on elevation right now. It's kind of a weird form, so I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree.
Franchise icon Kyle Lowry is leaving the Toronto Raptors. I don't have a doubt about that.
He's leaving, but I don't think he's going to sign with someone else. I think he's going to get sign and trade.
Sign and trade. Despite that, I think he ends up in Miami. They have team options.
Do you think it is a sign and trade, or do you think he just signs in Miami?
No, I think he signs.
Really? I'm going to say he probably signs and trade.
They have $15 million team options on both Goran Dragic and Andre Iguodala.
That's true.
That's true. That's more. I'd say, you know what? If they're offering more than like a year, if they're offering like 2-3 years, $30 million is probably an overpay, but more than enough.
I was gonna
go to 100%.
I was gonna say
100%.
maybe a 5-year $20 million.
But I guess that could work. I'm not sure how it works with like the over 38 rule. You can't offer max money to a player. You can't offer max money to a player after his age 38 season. Like you can't offer, say, a 5-year contract to a 35-year-old and pay him max money at ages 39 and 40 on that contract.
Maybe a player option
deals. Yeah, maybe. Lowry is 36 now. Yeah, Lowry's 36 now. So
because I think he's going to be looking for money. He got his ring.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sure he wants to play out his days and play relevant basketball.
He totally does, and that's why the Heat are a good fit for him because they can offer him decent money for what he's worth at this point.
And a good situation.
And a decent contention team.
And it's a nice place to like fade off, and
it's a nice place to retire.
Like you know what? Like honestly, like Jimmy's 32 or 33. Like that team's got maybe
3-4 years contention.
Yeah, unless they. Maybe not even that. Like if they unless they push all their chips in the middle, like both those guys are on the wrong side of 30 and moving fast. So
and you know what? They could go all in.
Yeah, they could.
They're gonna have to at some point.
I think eventually they're going to realize that Tyler Hero isn't what like he's going to be too focused on like getting with
2020 playoff hero.
Getting with models, and I'm just quoting this from what like Jimmy and Bam once said, but he's going to be too focused on his hood tendencies.
Yeah.
To really actually focus on the basketball.
Although if he's
side
hanging
of
out
it.
with Bam, he might be into fat bitches, so we're not sure.
I forgot about that.
Maybe he's into some BBW.
I don't know. He's already got a kid on the way now too. Hey,
Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler
already
on the way. Yeah.
With who?
Isn't he like 16?
Youngest NBA player of all time.
Like 12,
Just give me a second, boys.
But no, he's got it. I don't know what the model's name is, but like and then they broke up now too. So maybe that fuels like a breakout for Tyler Hero in terms of basketball, and he actually
who knows, man?
Steps up and starts playing like really good or whatever, and then friggin' next thing you know, he's actually good at playing good basketball. Who knows?
Breakout season from the model. Who knows?
Yeah. I'll talk to you about Kyle Lowry still because we are talking about the Heat and the Clippers. I think the Clippers are the best fit for Kyle Lowry in terms of situation, like place to be. I think I'm sure he'd love to be in LA. Who wouldn't?
No, exactly. Who wouldn't want to be in LA?
It easily gives him the best chance to win. There's a lot of familiarity there with Kawhi Leonard and Serge Ibaka, and
exactly,
yeah. And I think that's a place where he could go in and play right away and be.
Exactly I wanted to see.
Sorry, just recap me real quick.
So we were just talking about after we finished talking about Tyler Hero, we got to talking about Kyle Lowry. Yeah, Kyle Lowry to the Clippers is my pick for best fit for him.
You know what? I like that.
I really do.
There's a lot of familiarity there with his teammates. Kyle Lowry to Phoenix, eh?
Or not Phoenix, sorry. Philadelphia. That was really dumb on my part.
Yeah. You know what, though? I was thinking about that one, and I just thought, well, it's too obvious, really. And if Simmons isn't gone, that guy's still clogging the floor for them. Like, he has to go.
Yeah, like
if they're making a move for a point guard, it's with the expectation he's gone.
So, yeah, totally.
Moving on, Mike Conley.
Unless they're planning to move him.
That's what I'm saying is if they.
No, I mean to like small forward or power forward.
Oh, I don't know. That would probably have to be the best front court in the league, though, if it was Simmons.
I think they just fucking.
That's what I'm saying. I was just saying that's what would have to happen. That's the alternative, right? Is that instead of trading him, they could move him. Yeah, I think the other thing. When you say move him, though, like you should have just said positionally, but now I understand. That's my bad. Yeah, I totally get. I totally get. I blanked out on that. Yeah, but I think the other thing is too, like we saw what happened when Horford and Embiid played together, and Horford was a relatively decent 3-point shooter for a center, and it still didn't work. Like I can't imagine how bad it would be with Ben Simmons and his absolute zero shooting ability. Like that could be, I think that could lead to some huge issues on offense. And it could, or it would work really well. Yeah, could go either way. We'd have to see. It's an experiment, and that experiment might be over. Yeah, at least. Yeah, I will say Mike Conley for the third time. My bad, Mike Conley. No, all good. Mike Conley is probably leaving the Jazz because the Jazz are a small market team. Probably can't afford to go over the luxury tax. And Mike Conley is 34, going on 35, with a relatively troubled recent injury history. So, yeah, I think the Dallas Mavericks would be the best fit for him because prediction. Sorry. The Dallas Mavericks would be, for me, where he goes. I think Dallas probably ends up striking out on like the Kawhis, the Chris Pauls. And I think they get outbid by DeRozan. I don't think Lowry really has interest in Dallas. And I think with Luka's extension coming up
kicking in after this coming, like after next season, his eventual max extension will kick in. This is going to be the last time they have any real significant cap space for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think in order to appease Luka, I think they have to make that move. And I think
so too.
I think Mike Conley could have a similar effect to Chris Paul and how he makes guys around him better and gives them better opportunities to score the ball. I'm not saying he's Chris Paul, but I think he could be a catalyst for that team and help them improve, certainly as a vet. In terms of best fit, I like the Lakers for him. I like the Lakers a lot for him.
I do too, actually. And my other one for that is the Clippers.
The reason I don't want to give every single point guard to the Clippers, well, obviously I tried to keep it to like 1 or 2 as much as I could, just for sake of not repeating myself. But the reason I give him to the Clippers is because he's going to create the Lakers. Sorry, you're right. He's going to create the best opportunities for everyone on that roster as with his abilities as a passer, including lob threats like Anthony Davis and whatever other centers the Lakers may sign on minimums this summer.
Yeah.
I think obviously that's another sign and trade situation, and that's a situation where Mike Conley's having to make a probably pretty decent financial sacrifice to make that happen. But as a third option, I think he'd be outstanding in LA.
Yeah, I agree, and I think at this point in Mike Conley's career, the way Mike Conley's personality is, in my opinion, I don't think he really is that into the money. He doesn't seem like a big spender to me. He doesn't seem like he needs 40 million or fucking 10, 20, 25 million.
No, he doesn't seem like a flashy
I think
guy
I think he's happy to get 15, maybe 20.
Yeah, he's just making a good living, supporting his family and shit, right? So
I think the other thing I failed to recognize too is he's been largely a small market guy throughout his career. Like he hasn't played in a big market, so I don't know if that's of interest to him. But I think from a basketball standpoint, I think the Lakers be.
I think he's ready to step up and do something on a championship team.
I think it's just a matter of whether he wants to or not. Like whether
I totally agree.
I think so
too.
But I think everyone wants to win a championship deep down, and
absolutely. Well, that's what you play for at the end of the day, besides the money. Let's make this clear. John Collins is more than likely, I'd say probably 99% returning to the Hawks.
Probably.
He's a restricted free agent, so they can match whatever offer it is he chooses to sign. Fit-wise, I like the Timberwolves.
I do too. I do like that, actually.
I think offensively, he certainly shot the ball well enough to coexist next to Karl-Anthony Towns. I think that'd be probably one of the more skilled front courts you'd see in the league. And I also think as a 4, he has the ability to face up against good offensive players at the 4 with a decent center behind him. And I think Towns is good enough to be that. But frankly, I think they would just outscore everyone in the league with friggin' Russell, Edwards, Malik Beasley, Collins, and Towns.
Yeah.
Like that is
that's pretty gross, to be honest. That's pretty gross.
That would be a fun ass team to watch though. Like
it would kind of remind me of the Kings.
The one thing, like the prime Kings, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But like the one thing that it would actually, you know what, it would remind me of a more, I want to say athletic, but it would remind me of like the Denver Nuggets in a way, because we'd see John Collins probably step in as like the defensive sort of stopper. That team would be absolutely atrocious defensively, but he certainly has the ability to improve on defense. But I could see Towns like running the show as like the point forward or the point big, and just
he kind of, to me, John Collins kind of reminds me of Kelly Oubre Jr., who is also on this list.
Really,
a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the personalities that I'm matching up, but
I'm hoping it is, because basketball-wise, we saw nothing similar from them this year. I don't know why. They just remind me of each other. I don't know why. That's fair. I think Lonzo, another restricted free agent, had a breakout season this year I'd say a breakout season in terms of shooting, especially.
I agree.
For the Pelicans, he played good two-way ball. I think they'll want to keep him. I think he's their best point guard on the roster now. And I think at the rate that they could keep him, I think he'd be good for the future as well. I think he's only going to get better.
I think they have to at least try and keep him.
Yeah. It depends on what, like, if someone comes out and offers him, like, 4 years for $100 million, see you later.
Have fun, buddy.
Yeah, like, haha, you sure? Like, But in terms of fit, the other team I put besides the Pelicans was the Sixers. I think that's your if Ben Simmons is getting traded, and I would love to see him in New Orleans, but I think they look at someone like Lonzo. I think they would look at Josh Hart. They'd probably want to big it there because I don't think they're getting Brandon Ingram, but
no, probably not.
And then they'd probably look at maybe I don't think they get convinced into taking Bledsoe, but
no,
I think it'd be a lot of young talent and depth, maybe. Yeah, and I don't think they take Steven Adams either. But if it were to happen,
why would they?
Definitely
unless there's like picks involved, right? And they're trading out, and like the Sixers are trading like George Hill and maybe Tyrese Maxey and a pick.
Yeah,
but I would like to see Lonzo Ball in Philadelphia, with or without Ben Simmons. To be totally honest with you,
yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, to be honest, personally, I like the Sixers, and I'm not a Lonzo fan, just out of my personal opinions. But I do think he'd be a good fit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going for. So that's my pick. Dennis Schroeder is gonna take the money. I don't think Dennis Schroeder is in a position now. I don't think Dennis Schroeder is in a position yet, maturity wise. He reminds me a lot of Russell Westbrook, where he's
not as good,
not near as good.
No,
he's 100% taking the money though.
I wouldn't even call him a Russell Westbrook light. Like that guy's just out for the stats, wants to prove he's a starting point guard.
He's like the Russell Westbrook. How would I say this? In terms of if we're talking about light, I know this is not the reference, but if we're talking about, you got Budweiser, you got Bud Light, and then you have non-alcoholic Budweiser.
Or you have like Buck-A-Beer here in Canada.
Buck-A-Beer, yeah.
You have like no-name brand beer.
No-name brand beer, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Dennis Schroeder, so.
Yeah. But then it's like the expired stuff. If we're still comparing it, he's the expired stuff that you get half off.
He's like Sambuca.
Oh God!
He's like the Sambuca that you drop on your fucking kitchen floor and it lights on fire.
Hey, Justin,
and it goes everywhere.
In fairness, it was lit on fire before it dropped on the floor. Just making that clear. And the backstory to this, the backstory of this is Justin. We gave him a flaming Sambuca shot one night at Brendan's house, and one thing led to another, and the floor was on fire.
Dude, you were supposed to blow that bitch out, and I blew it out. I went
onto the floor,
and it just went all over my fucking hand. And then I'm like, oh shit, dumped it on the floor because I didn't want it on my hand. And it just, nice little puddle of flaming Sambuca.
Nice flaming fire.
Nice. It was nice.
It was great.
It looked like an oil fire in the middle of an ocean, but so that was a bad experience. That's just a little side story for you guys.
Justin Beck's kitchen.
Yeah. Besides that, don't give Justin any alcohol that you light on fire. Tech probably wouldn't give him alcohol in general.
Just in general.
Fair enough.
And Dennis Schroeder is your Sambuca version of what? Who are we comparing him to now? I got lost.
Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook. But Dennis Schroeder is going to take the bag. The Knicks are going to look to go big this summer. This summer,
don't sleep on Dennis Schroeder. He's a top like 2,000 point guard.
Yeah.
Top 5K point guard.
I think he's a starting caliber point guard in this league when you consider some of the point guard situations.
Non-contending team.
But the Knicks started Elfrid Payton, for God's sakes.
That's true. Yeah, I agree. But the Knicks are not a contending team.
No, but I mean, if they sign a legitimate point guard and they get DeMar, Like,
Yeah, maybe.
They have Julius
I don't
Randle.
hate that team. I don't hate that team.
It would be a deep team for sure. Like
It'd be the gang of
like
misfits.
Atlanta. Yes, absolutely. It would be a very backwards trending basketball team where that team is not shooting three. That team's just tearing you up in the mid range. Like
That
just
team's playing like
offense.
that team's playing like the fucking what was it, the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah, like before the 3-point line.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what year it was that I came in. That's why I said that.
For fit for Dennis Schroeder for basketball, and I've liked to pick some of these where I think they'd be best in like winning situations, but the Celtics. I think Dennis Schroeder. I think he would be good in the Celtics.
I think they're going to be shopping for someone better though.
No, you're totally right. But with the cap situation they do have, I don't know where they go because they don't have the cap room to sign Schroeder. The Lakers obviously want to get better. Maybe the Celtics can offer them like some center depth because we know they have like Moses Brown, Al Horford, Rob Williams, Cornette. Like we know they've got a lot. So maybe it's kind of a Schroeder doesn't want to be there. I think there'd be less ego in Boston for sure.
I think so, but I think Dennis Schroeder thinks he's a better player than he is.
Absolutely. I think if there was a place for him to maybe prove himself, it would be in a third role in Boston.
Yeah, my problem with Dennis Schroeder is I don't think he's good enough to be on a third role on a legitimate playoff team.
I don't think he is either.
No, I agree with that.
You're totally right, but I think if anyone's going to give him a chance, it's the Celtics who are in need of a point guard. Like frankly, I like Marcus Smart at the 2 better.
I agree.
He doesn't have the passing chops, and I wouldn't say Schroeder does either, but at least he's more of a true point guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of my pick for that. Like, frankly, if I had to pick a fit for Dennis Schroeder, it'd be wherever the most money is.
Exactly. Yep.
So
back to the Thunder, buddy.
I agree with that. I agree.
Hey, Brent, do you want to read out this next one because I know you like to read this guy's name wrong all the time.
Rashawn Holmes?
Me?
Yeah. No.
Rashawn Holmes.
There we go.
Rashawn?
See? Rashawn.
I call him Richwan all the time, dog.
I don't know why you guys do that. I don't know why you guys do that.
It's because it's funny. Richwan Holmes.
I know.
Richwan Holmes.
I know. Who is the
homie's Richwan, dude?
Who is the other one you always do that to?
Shit.
He does it to another one.
I don't remember who you're talking about, but I do know. I know who you're talking about.
I've literally stopped you in the middle of episodes and just be like, dude, it's not that. It's not that. If anyone watching remembers, please throw it in the comments because I feel like it's come up multiple times before. Oh, Levine. That's what it is. Zach.
No, that's Luke. That's Luke.
No, that is Luke.
I say Levine.
Luke does that too?
No, I don't. I'm Zach Levine.
No, Zach Levine. Clemson Zach
Levine. I did it as a joke.
Okay.
I did it as a joke making fun of Luke, ironically. But
yeah,
I think I just took Luke's side because I thought it was funny.
Right.
But no, that's not me. I know how to say Levine.
I want to say it's a big that
that
he messes up his name. I can't remember who it is though.
I don't know. I'm sure it'll come around sometime and it'll just click for me.
Yeah, probably.
So you think that he stays in the Kings? I'm gonna agree with that.
I do. I think
me too.
I think the money is there for him. Whatever that may be. Like it's not a great center market, but he was really pretty much out of the league and the Kings really saved him. So I think he owes that to them and I think he likes it there.
And that's a fun team to watch. It's a fun team to play on. Probably.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the personalities are awesome in that locker room.
But the spirit's probably not too high after missing the playoffs for 15 straight years.
Probably not, but I think they're like one piece away from being a top 7 seed.
Yeah, that's a lot though in the West. Like that is
I get that, but they'll definitely make the playoffs, I think.
I think anything like they're projected to have roughly 15 million. Actually, they're 15 in the hole, but
yeah,
that's a more of a. It's pretty easy to skirt that. I'm sure.
And I based on the team, I think that team has the potential where if they get maybe even just a veteran leader, that's not Harrison Barnes.
the guy that I always say is the most overpaid, like underqualified player in the league. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
But I like their team a lot, and I think they're built not to win a championship, but to be a decent contending, like not contending, but like playoff contending team for like probably the next 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And you know what? They have some incredible young guys on that team.
They do. They do. They're I think their time is like
for
their
sure
time
they
is
do.
still coming. Their time is still coming.
I agree. And it could get completely fucked up if De'Aaron Fox hits free agency and goes, I think I'm going to go somewhere else. Which he totally could.
Out, right? Yeah.
He totally could. Like he's a good enough player where De'Aaron Fox would be incredible on the Lakers or Clippers.
Do you want to hear something funny with the Lakers? Just really quickly. I literally just popped my phone open.
Are we torching them while Luke's not here? Because I'm down.
We're torching Kyle Kuzma.
I'm down too. Fuck Kyle Kuzma.
Trade him for J. Cole.
Kyle Kuzma on whether he could be on being a 25-point scorer and NBA All-Star. I definitely can. I definitely believe that too. I don't really care what nobody thinks or says. I love the confidence, dude, but like
literally.
But no.
Come on.
Maybe maybe he goes to a small market and
notch.
absolutely breaks out.
But I don't know when that happens because like I can't imagine his trade value being overly high at this point anymore. Like
not
now
super
that he's getting
high, but
now
he has trade value.
He's a throw-in piece.
He has trade value.
He's more of a salary filler. Like
dude, I didn't really know
he's
that.
probably more of a salary filler, if anything. Like he's making roughly $13 million this next season. Like that's not going to get you a whole lot, but it probably gets you something. A guy who's having a hot season, and that's probably more valuable than what Kuzma does for them.
A next year version of Norman Powell.
Yeah, and that's actually nice because we're very close to Norman Powell, but Richaun Holmes, I think the Raptors would be a great fit for him.
I think he'd do well on the Raptors too. It's not going to happen, but
we saw what like Khem Birch did for them. Like, and a Raptor center doesn't need to have a jump shot to be successful.
No, he does totally.
And the fact that he's he's athletic as fuck, runs on every possession, and is a pretty decent passer, pretty much means you're getting like a Marc Gasol, type player without the shooting and more energy. Like more mobility.
Your guy, and he could develop a jump shot too. I mean, you see centers do it later in their careers. They're like they just have a breakout year where suddenly they shoot 30% from 35% from three.
Exactly. That's just the game.
Better.
Yeah, that's just the game, right? Like I'm sure all of them work on it.
Yeah, why not?
Guys don't have the ability to do it in game yet, and that he's fairly young. Like he's still, I think he's like 27. He's still got time.
That's what players are going to need in the league too.
Yeah,
they're going to have to adjust.
That's how guys like that age, though, too. That's how a guy like Richaun Holmes with that kind of athleticism stays in the league.
I see him kind of being maybe kind of an Al Horford.
Yeah, I could
not as great, but
no, he's never going to get the kind of appreciation that Al
same
Horford
type of player as Al Horford.
Yeah, Jared Allen. I have Jared Allen staying with the Cavaliers. Like they're not trading. They only traded a second round pick to get him, but you're not picking him over Andre Drummond because their games are very similar. If he's not your future at the center position, like that's they're sold on him.
Yeah,
but one place I'd love to see him play for the Hornets. Man.
I like totally agree with this. I think he would be so much fun to watch there.
Yeah,
the Fro show. Not only that, but like from a style perspective, the Fro show with the
Fro show.
The Fro show with the turquoise headband and like the striped Buzz City jerseys.
He looked like something out of fucking semi-pro.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be like the friggin' Will Ferrell vibes. He'd look literally like Will Ferrell.
That'd be cool. That would be cool.
That'd be so
They
dope,
should bring Flint to the NBA just for that reason.
Oh my God, literally.
Maybe not in Flint, but the Flint Tropics, maybe not in Flint, but that should be a team. Those jerseys are sick.
They the hockey team there, like the OHL team, the Firebirds.
They have the same jerseys. And that's so cool. And I think that would be so cool to see a Tropics team in the NBA. And personally, the Seattle Tropics.
It's gonna be the Sonics. Like the Sonics
I know.
are iconic.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But I
Yeah,
mean, that would be
no.
cool.
You're
That
totally
would-
right. You're totally right.
I feel like it's just even more ironic that it's not like Florida or something. Because they're
Yeah.
called the tropics. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, it's got to be
Yeah.
like LA or fucking Florida
or
even
like Tampa Bay, even.
Tampa. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool,
Tampa Bay
actually.
Tropics.
Tampa Bay could use
That
a
would be
team.
dope. Yeah,
I
that'd be
mean,
dope.
we did, not gonna lie, we did kind of see the, like, I know it's the Raptors, it's not their team, but like
And,
we saw when New Orleans had like a really bad go with Hurricane Katrina that they moved to OKC, and like OKC really took them in, and that's why they got the team. That's why they got a team.
Yeah.
That's why Seattle ended up moving there.
I know. I just think it's
Yeah.
funny that there could be a team in the NBA called the Tropics that's not
Yeah.
in a tropical area. I feel like that's absolutely hilarious.
That would be more of a thing for like the culture, if you know what I mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
no one would really care about like whether they were good or bad at basketball. Like, obviously,
The
we all knew they were
Harlem-
good.
Instead of the Harlem Globetrotters, the Harlem Tropics.
The Harlem
Don't hate
Tro-
that. Don't hate that.
No.
I think that'd be cool.
You know what? Speaking from an optimistic point of view, like I think an NBA team there, like as you know, as bad as that place has been described and as bad as it is, like that could really turn Harlem could turn it around. You know,
It could
Like-
be the thing that
Yeah, for
that's
real.
needed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
maybe bring it
Yeah.
out of the gutter a little bit. Not to hate on Harlem or anything, not to hate on the people that are
No.
there. It's just you guys have a reputation.
yeah. Spencer did, yeah. So moving on, Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he will go to the Lakers. I think there's an interest there.
I think
I think
so
there's an
too.
interest on him. And I think the Lakers offer him a great
Yeah.
opportunity to have a bounce back campaign in a not so stressful environment.
How
where he's
old
being
is he?
He is 28.
Yeah, so he's
I think-
prime.
28. Yeah.
Assuming he
and
can come back from that injury.
he's coming off a partially torn ACL.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
still, like partially torn, but like that's an injury that a lot of guys do come back from now.
Yeah,
And-
totally.
And it's not like he's like a Derrick Rose type when it comes to athleticism. He has skills. He has the ability to shoot. I think he'd be a way better third option for them than Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I was gonna
I think
say
his
then the
game-
latter.
His game fits way better in an off-ball role, the one they envisioned for Dennis Schroeder that never worked out, right? That's
didn't.
my thing. Norm Powell, I think he's going to go back to the Blazers. I think the Blazers re-sign him. I think he played well there.
I think he really, really likes that kind of team, like Toronto,
Yeah.
the Blazers. I feel like they're very, very similar in nature.
just those smaller, those like mid-market teams with really passionate fans.
Yeah, and I think that would be cool for him to stay. I personally still hate seeing him in a Blazers uniform. It's
So
weird.
do I. Yeah, it's
But-
weird.
Your
I know
fit,
it has-
I totally like this.
Yeah.
I totally
like
like
it?
that. I
For the
really
Heat?
like that actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Kind of explain
I know, I
I
like
know what
that
I
too.
was thinking, but what
Because
do you think?
I think Norman Powell is a great player in this league that can do a lot for a team that needs that kind of one-up, kind of a two-way player that's just hits his threes.
You want to know my comparison for Norman Powell?
I might know who you're talking about, but yeah.
I think you do. Andre Iguodala.
Yes, totally. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I think that he could, to be honest, he's the X factor.
Mm-hmm.
On any team he's
Yeah.
on, he can be the X factor. And you know
Yeah.
what? He's kind of one of those guys that I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a contending team. He could be the finals MVP.
Well, look, like Iguodala. did,
Iguodala
right?
won
Like,
it.
If you go out there and hit the big shots,
Yeah.
make plays offensively, but you're an absolute dog on defense, that is the most valuable. Like that's the most valuable player,
Totally.
right?
And when you're the number 4 option and you fucking do that, or number 3 option and you do that, that
Mhm.
is value. That's more valuable than anyone on the team because you're not that star, but you're playing like a star.
Exactly. You're having a bigger impact than some of the stars,
Exactly.
anointed stars on your team, right?
And the finals
Yeah.
MVP, I know it's typically given to the guy that everyone thinks should win it, like based on stats.
Numbers.
But at the end
yeah.
of the at the end of the day, sometimes the X factor should deserve it, because at the end of the day, if the stars are matching stars, the X factor is the thing that's winning you games. He's the one that's being the most valuable player on the team. You can match up all day. Yeah, you can match up all day.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that Iguodala is a good comparison. That's exactly who I was thinking of too.
You're right. Yeah. And I think they get him at a similar price point too if they end up like striking out on like Lowry or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yep. I think so too.
Evan Fournier, I think he goes back to the Celtics. Like the Celtics really need the offense. Yeah. And I don't know what they have in terms of like cap room, but I think he would fit in as like an mid-level exception player if he's willing to take that. But if he's not, I could see him going to the Grizzlies.
And I don't dislike that either. I think he'd do really, really well with Ja. And
I think he's well, they're a pretty balanced team. So like for him to fit in as like a spark plug, even a spark plug bench player behind like Dylan Brooks or that, like either of them could do it. I think if they want more individual shot creation though, like Evan Fournier would be their guy. But
Evan Fournier could win 6th Man of the Year on the right team.
Yeah. He's another one of those guys like Kyle Lowry. I think Kyle Lowry would fit just about anywhere. I think Chris Paul would fit just about anywhere. They're plug and play guys, right? They're a guy who fits in any system, kind of like that. I think Evan Fournier has shown the ability to do that in Boston in a different role. So that's why
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I do. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I do like Evan Fournier as a player, and I think I totally agree that he can fit basically anywhere. I think he's totally I think he's underrated, to be honest.
What do you think about Devontae Graham to the Pistons?
I don't hate that. I mean, how old is he? I know he's old, isn't he?
He's like 27.
Sorry, not old, but like not young.
He's like he'd be the later end of their timeline, but for me, it's more or less like Devontae Graham's stuck in a role behind LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. Like that team is
his time's over for the Hornets.
Yeah, let's be honest.
I would say
let's be honest.
And at the cap figure that he'd probably get, because there's obviously a lot of potential there, and I think a team's going to bet on that. And frankly, I think he might just end up getting priced out of there.
Have nothing to lose.
No, right? And you know what? Worst case, he's 26. He picks it up in a starting role, and they trade him.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I think he goes to the Pistons, but I think if he starts having a good year, he goes to a contender at the trade deadline for picks.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think that's totally right. And you know what? We've seen teams like OKC do that. And I think the Pistons have the ability to do that now.
For a rebuilding team, it's a gorgeous move.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the attainable young players you're going to get, like due to restricted free agency. And
going into their primes, kind of.
Yeah, that's a guy that they still have time to figure out, right? And if worse comes to worse, then you know what? He's young. They're not getting better really anytime soon. So yeah,
they have a couple more years.
Yeah, they have the number one pick in Cade Cunningham, like probably going to be Cade Cunningham, but
most likely.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre Jr. I don't like this fit culturally speaking because of the way he is as a person, but I think the Spurs for him is they have the
situationally. I totally agree.
They have the money. I just don't like the fit, like culture wise.
No, neither do I. But I do really, really like.
No,
I like the way they fit as player team.
Yeah,
not so much. I don't think he'll get along with anyone. But
even if it's a matter of, hey, we're gonna sign you to like a 1 or 2 year deal. Just come play your best ball for us, and we'll trade you if your value's there. I think that could be the situation for him to just find his footing.
Yeah, I don't think the Warriors are a great team for him.
No, I don't think it was that he was overbilled, but look, he came in and was supposed to be like another 3-and-D guy for them, which is totally what Kelly Oubre's role should be. I think he's a little bit better than just a traditional 3-and-D guy,
I think he
that's all
could be
we
a number
need to be our
3
worst.
option in the future.
I think it'd take a
I think he
couple
could be
years and some
A
development.
couple years, but
Yeah.
I think he could end up being like a Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
I see that as a little far fetched.
Bit of a stretch, but yeah. I see
yeah.
what you're saying.
Like he was there with the Wizards, like he had some good moments, but now at this point in his career, I've always seen him as more of an energy guy right now. And I know Golden State didn't do any favors for him, but that's probably the most I've seen of Kelly Oubre this year with the Warriors, because that's just the team I watch the most. I don't watch Washington.
I
really didn't
like
watch
watching
Phoenix.
him play because he's funny and he's energetic and
Yeah. No, he plays an entertaining brand of basketball. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to stay with the Mavericks.
I totally agree. I don't see him anywhere else.
I agree with that as well.
They have his
Spark
bird
plug
right,
off
so
the
they can
bench.
still- or even as a starter, right? Like if they start,
Depends who they get,
him.
but yeah.
I'd really like to see DeRozan go there, especially if they get Hardaway, because Luka, Hardaway, let's say they start Finney Smith, like they can all shoot the 3, so it would really open up the paint for DeRozan.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
Yeah.
good.
it would.
So speaking of the Mavericks, real quick, what do you think happens to KP, the new playoff P?
The new pandemic P. Playoff
Yeah.
P is the good one. Pandemic P is the
Yeah,
bad
that's
one.
what I meant. My bad.
Yeah, no, all good. I think they got to ride it out another year. I do.
I do think they have to.
I
I think it's the
think-
right business move, but I
I think the Celtics were their best trade partner, unless OKC comes calling and says, "Hey, we'll take a flyer on him. Like we'll send you Kemba."
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't hate that move either. But
no.
I wouldn't hate that move either for Dallas, and it still lets them go and sign DeRozan. It just depends. Like, do you really want to be starting Dorian Finney-Smith and like Boban or Maxi Kleba in your starting forward spot, your starting center, like starting big spots? Like, I know I wouldn't. I think they bank on it, and I think this is going to be the first off season in a long time for him where he's fully healthy and can train and rest like he would in a normal year. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I think they have to give him one.
I think he could have a breakout year this year.
I think he could too.
100% he could.
I think, frankly, like, I don't think there's any rift between him and Luka, but he certainly has disappointed in his time so far in Dallas.
Luka's probably
Especially
disappointed
in-
with the way he played, but I don't think they dislike each other.
No. I think you're totally right there. But this is the first kind of normal season in which he'll be in Dallas. So
And they didn't really have expectations either playing the Clippers.
No, I don't know. The Dallas is a weird team. Dallas is like
Yeah, they are.
Dallas is a Kawhi away. If you know
Yeah,
what I mean.
they're kind of that team that
Because-
like they'll surprise us one year and win a championship.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is like they have that Giannis level superstar in Doncic. They have Kristaps, who's supposed to be a sidekick, but like he's not better than Drew or Middleton, but they wanted him to be, and he's not yet. He may still get there.
That's
but
what they were looking for.
Exactly. That's what they traded for.
That's
and
what
they
they're
didn't
banking
get.
on.
And then you look at the rest of their team and the rest of that bench, and it's like that's not like they're not great. You know what I mean? Like nothing screams great bench to you when you think
Yeah.
of the Mavericks, right? So that's why I'd say they're like a Kawhi away, because A, that's their biggest weakness positionally, and B, you just look at the rest of their team, and if they
Or
add a guy like
great-
Kawhi and push everyone down,
Or a really good point guard that moves Luka to small forward.
I think they're a star. Like I think they're a legitimate star.
But
away.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Point
just saying.
guard or
I think
small forward?
I think they could go either point guard or small forward.
Yeah, I think they'll want to keep the ball in Luka's hands anyways.
Probably, but
So
like
that's
we've
why I
seen,
think-
we've seen Kawhi being the ball dominant guy too at small forward.
Yeah.
An off-ball
Yeah.
point guard, not a traditional point guard.
No, like a point forward. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But I think even if Kawhi were to go there, the ball would, like, Doncic would still bring the ball up and, get
Yeah.
Kawhi open and that. But I think I would love to see Kawhi in Dallas. That's
I think that'd be
obviously
a
not my
fun
fit.
team to watch.
That wouldn't be my fit for him, but I think that would be like that'd be a really, really good team.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of teams are a Kawhi away. It's easy to say that because
Yeah.
it's the same thing as saying they're
Because
LeBron
you're like
away,
a
and the
top-
same thing as saying
Yeah.
they're Steph away.
They're like
Like-
a top 5 player away. Like, oh, I think everyone is, but Gary Trent Jr. I think the Raptors keep him. I don't.
He's
think
got to
there's
stay.
really any-
I don't think they would have traded for him had he not been planning on staying.
No. Like obviously the trade was to get a little younger. Gary Trent Jr. is 22, going on 23, and Powell's 27.
Yeah.
And obviously going to be more expensive, they think. So that's the other thing too. Victor Oladipo, bit of a bounce back candidate. I think he goes to OKC. I think he's one of those guys who is a bounce back candidate or a buy low option.
Yeah. Because I don't think the Heat are going to take a chance on him because they're trying to contend.
No. Yeah, I think the Heat are going to allocate their resources to places where guys can actually contribute. We know
And
he's going to
a
miss
more of
large
a
part this season.
guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, we know Victor Oladipo is going to miss a large part of this season with the ruptured quad again, like re-rupturing his quad, which really sucks. But fit-wise, I'd say if he's trying to win, the Nuggets.
I like that.
I'd say if he can prove he's healthy when he comes back, he's way better than what Will Barton gives them.
Totally. I totally agree, and I think he fits perfectly there.
And honestly, it's weird. Like if they sign Victor Oladipo, like they have to have probably the best
deepest.
starting five, the deepest, but the best starting five in the NBA. No,
Yeah,
Like-
you got Jamal, Oladipo.
it's easily the most complete starting
Yeah.
five. Like I know the Nets
Most
have
complete,
more top
for
end
sure.
talent.
MPJ,
Yeah, Gordon and
Gordon,
Jokic.
Jokic.
Like that's five above
Wow.
average players for their positions. Maybe
With-
not
with an
Oladipo, but
With an MVP as well as a
Yeah.
great point guard in Jamal Murray. I think
Yeah,
Jamal
exactly.
Murray will be a top 5 point guard at some point in his career.
yeah. Duncan Robinson, I think he's going back to the Heat. Like you don't give up the guy who's been one of history's best shooters in his first 2 seasons in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's also that kind of spark plug guy too for them. He can get hot.
Yeah.
And he kind of reminds me of a less
JJ
all
Redick.
round.
JJ Redick.
Yeah,
Redick.
that's a good one. But I was gonna say, in a lesser role, Klay Thompson.
Sure.
He's a guy that can
But
get hot.
I say JJ Redick just because we know he lives and dies on threes. Like he doesn't create his
Yeah.
own offense like Clay does. He doesn't play defense anywhere near the extent Clay does.
Yeah,
or did.
that's I agree, JJ Redick. I just couldn't think of anyone off the top of my head that I could compare him
And
to.
that's why I want to see him go to the Pelicans. I think it would be friggin' awesome in New Orleans.
It would be cool to see him in New Orleans, actually.
Like Lonzo, Duncan Robinson at the 2, BI at the oh my
I like
god,
that.
and then Steven Adams.
I like
Duncan
that.
Robinson
Yeah.
on his own would provide enough shooting to open it up for Zion. Even
There's
more.
no way
Like,
they're missing playoffs.
No.
They
There's
should
But
no
honestly
the
shot.
other thing about
Fred
Duncan
No
Robinson, the other thing about him is he could be an incredible number 4 on some teams.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Like the ability to shoot like that is an offense unto itself. Like, if you can shoot the ball like Duncan Robinson does, you literally need almost no other skill in the NBA other than
Hear
maybe
me
put
out.
the ball on the floor once.
Hear me out. Sixers.
Obviously, they need shooting. Like
Yeah.
we saw what JJ
Yeah,
Redick
they-
did there in the
yeah.
screen and roll. Like even we saw what Seth Curry did there with Joel Embiid in the screen, like the screen and roll, the slip screen. Like that would be ridiculous. Like
That'd be fun to watch.
Well, that's 2 of the league's best shooters right there, and Seth.
Yeah, exactly.
Seth and Duncan. Like that's plain unfair. Like they might be able to keep Ben Simmons at that point. Like that's
Yeah.
how disgusting that would be.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what he's gonna sign for, but
I think he's gonna get north. I think Duncan Robinson gets north of 10. I think he
I-
has to.
I think he's like 8.5.
Yeah. I don't know. Shooting is a premium, and when you shoot the ball,
That's
like
true,
that,
actually. Yeah, actually, I'd give him 13.
yeah,
Yeah, I
don't,
think
he's
you have to
definitely not
give him
going
over
higher
10.
than. I think.
What does Joe
12.5
Harris make right
is like-
now?
Joe Harris, 4 years, 56. I want to say actually no, it's 72. Joe Harris makes like 18 million a year.
So I think you got to give him close to
Jeez.
that because that's what he is.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, right? And he's a little bit younger, so, yeah, no, I'd say that's a pretty solid comparison.
No, I like that. I like
As I'm
that.
looking up, yeah, so 4 years, 75, including 72 guaranteed. So,
Yeah, well,
That would be, I think, a little bit. I'd think a little bit less. I think Joe Harris has a little bit more off the bounce.
I think so too.
Ability,
I think a little
but
less.
I think
than 18.
I think 15 would be probably a decent
Ideal.
number for him to hit.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
This last one I included because I know we're past 20 at this point, but I included Andre Drummond because I wasn't sure. Like, I know obviously Luke's not here. I wanted to see what Luke would say because I think Luke wants him gone. But I
want
think
him gone out of LA as well.
I think he goes to
He's
the
not
Nets,
a good
honestly.
fit. He's just not. I do not. And I do not want to see him in the Nets. I would like to see him on the Warriors.
See, I thought he was
love
going to
the
sign
Warriors
with the
would
Nets.
Fun. But that's the
The
reason he
Warriors?
has connections. The Warriors would be my fit for him.
He would be ridiculous.
He
on
would
the
be
Warriors.
stupid on the Warriors.
Yeah, like
Especially
that
when Clay
guy's
comes back.
underrated fucking. That guy's an underrated fucking.
Hear me
passer.
out.
And not only that, it's direct help for James Wiseman.
Yes.
That's James Wiseman
Hear me
coming
out.
off the
Hear me
bench.
out.
Yeah.
Nets and Warriors, whoever gets Drummond wins the chip.
I don't hate
think,
that.
You know what? I think if the
don't hate
Warriors
that.
can somehow get their hands on Drummond, like frankly, I don't think Drummond's getting. If Drummond's getting anywhere above 10, I think it's an overpay. Just because Drummond's role is so
I think so,
marginalized
too.
on offense.
Yeah.
It could
And
end up being
frankly,
a
his
good
defense-
signing, though. It could end up being an
be.
incredible signing.
I think
Could be.
Andre Drummond's such a finite point because depending on how he plays, like you sign him for the mid-level exception because everyone thought that's what he was going for and that's what everyone's offering him. You didn't sign him for any less than anyone thought, but if he comes out and balls, like that's one of the signings of the offseason,
It's an
right?
absolute
Totally.
steal. Absolute
if-
steal.
But he
And-
could be an
but if-
absolute disappointment, too.
He could
But
be,
that's
though.
exactly
He
what I'm
could
saying.
be,
You
too.
could go sign him for the mid-level and he could be like Tristan Thompson.
Like,
Yeah.
that's like that's a 50-50 chance. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Could bite you in
But
the
I
ass.
think a
could
team
not.
that needs that
could do
piece
really well for you.
at center, which is realistically the Warriors and the Nets.
Yeah, I
and
agree with
the
that.
Lakers. I'd say the Lakers again, just for the sake of like AD and the Clippers. But
Yeah.
those are big teams. Like
Yeah.
I think Andre Drummond's role is best served as a center on a championship contender.
I totally agree.
Yeah. He's not a lob threat or anything like that. He's not young. He's not 30, but he's not young.
Yeah.
And he's just not offensively skilled enough to be a leader on a team, right?
Yeah, not yet. No. Well, not ever.
No. No. I think if anyone I wanted to see on here, I would want to see Drummond. Well, I really want to see Jared Allen on the Cavs because that would be such a Tropic Thunder vibe, like Flint Tropics
Yeah.
vibes.
You mean on Charlotte?
Yeah, on Charlotte. I think that would be such Tropics vibes. But like, yeah, Andre Drummond on the Warriors from a basketball perspective would be friggin' amazing.
It'd be crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And
That
you know
would-
what? They could win 2 in a row.
It would remind me of like Bogut in like 2014-15 when that
Just
guy
a
was
better
just making-
Bogut.
just a better Bogut, like better probably defensively, better offensively, better on the
Just a
boards,
better
like,
player. Like
just an overall better
Yeah.
player. Like, and we saw the disgusting type of shit that Bogut does just from like the crazy fucking passes and screens that he threw. Like it was
Just 'cause he could.
ridiculous. And honestly, like it was so great. The Warriors have like probably honestly the Warriors have my favorite action of all time, like my favorite play, and it's literally just a Steph Draymond screen. Draymond slips the screen and then Draymond lobs to the big. And it's so easy, but it's so nice. And that's what
Yeah.
I want to see.
it's undefendable too.
Well, exactly, right? It makes for such a nice
Because then you have Clay
such
on the
nice
wing.
basketball.
Draymond, if the lob's not open, can kick it to Clay
Yeah.
for a 3. He can dish it back to Steph for a 3. He can hit the role
Yeah.
player who would be wide open at that point for a 3. Or he's hitting a lob, or he can take it to the fucking hoop himself.
Do you think, and this is just an odd question, but do you think if the Warriors were able to sign Drummond, can they win a chip with what they have now,
Including Clay.
including Clay? Like,
Yes.
but the same team, like Wiggins.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think Kelly Oubre
Yeah.
comes back, but like,
I think
I
they
don't
get
think so
someone
either.
win a chip.
I think they get someone similar value to Kelly Oubre,
Yeah.
like play style wise. And
Yeah.
I think they could easily win a chip. I think even without Andre Drummond, they've got a chance at it.
I think they do too. Like, look, they have picks 7 and 14 coming in. So they're in a deep draft like this, they're going to draft some reasonable guys and maybe even older guys like juniors or seniors with some more experience, but they're going to get contributors nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think the Warriors. And we said it, but I think the Warriors will be. Ooh, I don't know. I want to ride the Warriors hype train, but I've rode the Milwaukee Bucks hype train, and now things are looking kind of bleak.
You're just gonna follow suit, eh? Just gonna follow suit.
I'm just gonna play it cool and see what they do in the off season, and then we'll go from there.
My pre-off season prediction is that the Warriors win the chip next year or the Nets. I think it's a Warriors Nets final.
Minus the Nets.
Warriors Nets final. That's my preseason. That's not my preseason prediction. That's my pre-off season prediction.
Pre-off season. All right, so I'll probably come up with that on Monday when Luke's back, and I think we'll talk about that more then because we're starting to get into that kind of section where things are slowing down in the NBA and we're getting into that off-season stuff. So
yeah. Alrighty. So in saying that is the end of our list. I don't know if you guys have anything else you guys want to talk about before we cut this off. We're just around the 2-hour mark right now.
I'm good.
No, I'm all good. Yeah.
All right. So in saying that, guys, make sure you guys go check out OCS, Old City Sports. Lots of great content over there. And if you like us, you like them. Remember to go check out Flyers Alley, the Dusty Buttes, and premiering in just a few days. Actually, 2 days now.
Yeah.
On July 11th, the Rumble Fumble Live. Beck is a co-host on that, and he's going to be doing pretty well exactly what he's doing here for us, which is a very big role, and we appreciate the hell out of that, what he does for us. So definitely go check that out, and Drop the Mics Live, which is live every day at 4 p.m. Some days recently haven't been able to get it up, but we are working to get that back up every day, just being a little hectic in the past few days. So in saying that, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Go check out Old City Sports on the website, Facebook, Twitch, anywhere you want. And I'll give the floor to Beck real quick to talk about the Rumble Fumble.
Yeah, so two things. One thing about the Rumble Fumble. Join us live. It's going to be every other Sunday in the off season right now. So our first one will be premiering on the 11th at 10:30 a.m. via the Old City Sports page and the Rumble Fumble page on Facebook. We will be talking all of the quarterback talk that you need to know about. And then more so for the three-pointer, we are back up and posting episodes on all platforms where you can find your podcast stuff.
That's Apple, Spotify, anything you want.
Yeah, pretty much anything as long as it's not one of those book stands. As long as it's not like a book stand on the street or something. If it's on your phone, it's probably on there.
We're likely going to start posting it on OnlyFans too. If you want to subscribe to that, be my guest. That's a joke.
Yeah. But on a more serious note, we are posting every Monday and Friday at the same time that we go live on our live stream here on Facebook. So be sure to check that out if you can't make this. And in saying that, cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Have a good one.